It's Hollie's Hotspurs back with another one. Chatting all things Tottenham, we're second to none. Special guests every time, if it's win, lose or draw. The passion is high like Harry Kane when he scores. Or when Lloris makes a world-class save. We got Højbjerg running the mid every game. Settle down, stick around, share your thoughts with the panel. And make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Coys.
Hello and welcome to another Hollie's Hotspurs Live. And for once, the song, the jingle where Harry Kane scores has actually become true for once. I mean, I've waited so long for it actually to happen, and it has actually happened. With me tonight to go over that game against Newcastle, I am joined by two amazing guests. First of all, I'm joined by Brian, by Tottenham on tour. How are you tonight, Brian?
I am Hollie, do you know what? I'm blown away by that. Last time I was on, that jingle most certainly wasn't there. I was like, halfway through, I was like, what the hell is it? Who wrote that or who is that?
Up the forms official.
They've done a wicked job. They've done a wicked job. Has to be said. But no, Hollie, honestly, it's a pleasure to come back on your channel and see you. I saw you briefly for the Chelsea game, which was great. And then to be on your channel again is incredible.
I was going to say it's nice to meet in person and meet once again on here. It's good to have you on again.
Yeah.
Brian. So I'm so sorry it's taking so long. I'm so bad at organising things, but thanks again.
No worries.
For me.
The best come to those who wait, as Himes used to say.
I like that. Plus, you've come on when we've won, so that's even a better bonus. I'm also joined by Luke from Rivalry Aside TV. Luke, how are you today?
Yeah, good. Do you know what? I felt a bit bad when I listened to that intro, and I also hadn't heard it before. So I'm glad that Brian was the first one to say it. It shows how much I watch your channel, I suppose, isn't it? But it's unreal. I was definitely vibing to that whilst we were waiting to come on.
Yeah, no, I mean, big up Forms. I mean, he is doing things at the moment. He will be back on the show soon, but rapping is his jam. And I finally pinned him down to make one. So at least it's now been put to good use at the fact that we've actually won a game, which is actually quite nice, to be honest. I think after the international break, I was a bit worried with the whole new owner boom that Newcastle might actually do something. And to be fair, Brian, right from the off, they kind of did. So what were your kind of first thoughts when after like a minute and a half we were 1-0 down?
I'll try and keep my language down because we haven't passed the barrier yet. Listen, Newcastle's my favourite away day. I used to love going to St James's Park. It's an incredible stadium. The fans are incredible in Newcastle. They're like no other. Just because it being a one city team, they are. And I said, you know what? It's going to be like a party atmosphere. It's going to be as long as we come out fast, as long as we don't. And typical. If you're going to trust one thing, just trust Tottenham to do the opposite. That goal came in, and I was like, oh, here we go. And I was in the We Are Tottenham TV studios watching it with Ben and Sim. And I was like, you know what? The first 10 minutes felt like the entire first half. It was the most longest 10 minutes, I think, in my entire life. But thankfully, we will speak about we've improved. I was amazed with our mental strength that we showed. But yeah, after that first goal, all I saw was like when we lost 5-1 a few seasons ago, and I thought, here we go. But thankfully, it weren't that.
Agreed. I think that kind of came over all of us. So I think to myself, oh no, it's just typical. We're playing Newcastle as soon as they got this new owners, and they're actually fighting for it. They're going to do something. But that being said, Luke, it didn't take long for that reply, and that reply was from Ndombele. And I want to talk a lot about Ndombele tonight because I think credit is where credit is due, because we've waited an awful long time for Ndombele, and he actually lasted over 90 minutes. So, Luke, what was your takes on Ndombele, and especially that finish yesterday?
Yeah, I think slowly he's been utilised in probably his best way, playing further forwards, being able to get on the ball a little bit deeper, play the ball, but then also venture forward. You know, when we had him playing alongside, you know, kind of like Højbjerg and Ali sometimes, you know, it really doesn't work when he's much further back. You know, he messes about on the ball, tries too much, and then ends up giving it away. So when he's further forward and he can, you know, put the ball through players' legs, you know, bring the ball down whenever he likes and, you know, score like he did, it was just fantastic to see. Go back to the first few minutes of the game. It was just a nightmare, wasn't it? Seeing Anton Deck's stupid little faces celebrating with that absolutely mental Amanda Staveley, I don't know. It just ruined my life. But anyway, we came back and Ndombele was fantastic. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say he's back. You know, This is it now. We have to take it game by game. But yeah, he used a finesse finish from FIFA. Do you know what? Absolutely zero curl on it though.
Is it not?
It just went up and
Rock
down.
it straight in.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing, like you said, obviously seeing Ant and Deck did make me giggle, because I think someone put on Twitter saying I'm a celebrity, get me out of here, which I think was so true. So I think they were a bit hacked off towards the end. But that as well, Brian, I'm going to come to you about Ndombele. I mean, we've spoken about the finish; it was a class finish, but I think I saw a stat ridiculously that he had like the most runs or carried the ball the most throughout the whole game. In the sense, and when you've been thinking a couple of games ago he wasn't even lasting a half, to actually now last 90 minutes and have a big impression on the game, we've got to be looking forward to that and hopeful that he's going to keep it up.
Well, we do. I mean, Ndombele showed what we all know what he's capable of and what he can do when he's on it. And I think a big help for him, which was also a big help for Kane, was going back to a 4-2-3-1. It's kind of the team was a lot more balanced and settled with that. And I've been saying it before. I think Ndombele needs to be. If we look at it, and I'm going to choose two players that remind me not of him for his skill, but I mean what we all know he can do is. Ginola and Van der Vaart were both the same. They did not defend. They could not defend. And it was like we had players to counteract it, to say, do you know what? Just get back into shape. It's not the onus on you to be making these long busted runs, because we know once you get on the ball, you're deadly and we can conserve your energy. And I think the addition of Ollie Skip to help Højbjerg, like we saw with Ollie Skip, I think if you look at the Arsenal and Chelsea games, which are our two worst performances, Arsenal by a country mile, Højbjerg had Ndombele and Dele. And I think we can finally say, and I've been saying it for months, that Dele Alli is the weakest link. Goodbye. As a quiz show used to say, Ollie Skip has brought so much to this team and is allowing Ndombele to do what he does best, because there's a Skip and a Højbjerg there to cover it. So his performance, even his defending near the end, like at the touch, he's nutmegging people on the touch, on like near our corner, conceding the corner. He just looked like he had that extra 10-15% energy because he had Skip and Højbjerg doing the work for him. And that's what you need to do. To have that kind of luxury player, you need a couple of players that will cover the shifts, and that's what they do.
And it is interesting you said that as well, because I was thinking we've got those two anchors now to allow Ndombele to just do what he kind of does.
Yeah.
And that being said, Luke, do you think that obviously we all knew what Skip was doing at Norwich? He's showing that actually, compared to my mate behind me, he's actually playing the ball forward a lot more. And I know we talk about obviously Højbjerg at Denmark, the fact that he moved the ball forward. I feel like there's kind of a rotation kind of feel with those two. One can move forward a little bit while everyone sits, or it can be vice versa. Do you think that's something that we're definitely going to keep going forward, especially if we keep playing Ndombele?
Well, look, we have to play those two for us. You know, our centre-backs still aren't the best centre-backs we could have. Our wing-backs still aren't the best at actual defending. So you need to have that extra cover for, you know, tracking back, making those extra lines. You know, if Romero, like he likes to do, steps too far forward, one of them can slot in and cover him. I do think we have to like be a bit careful with Oliver Skip and just make sure that like we don't all just start blowing him way out of like, you know, proportion in terms of how he actually is at the moment. You know, there's still things that he needs to improve in his game. He's on, I think it's 4 now yellow cards. He's probably, if he gets to 5, he'll be the first player in the Premier League to get to 5, which will get him a 1-match ban. So he needs to be careful in a few things. But apart from that, yeah, I thought he was outstanding yesterday.
It's interesting you said it as well, because I think it is obviously something that's going to come with age, something that's going to come with experience. And I know we're still talking about Skip, but I think it's something we still need to really talk about. And that is because, like you said, he can be hot-headed, but I find unlike Winks, he wins the ball, but he's more tactical about the way he goes about things. Do you not think, Brian?
So, Ollie Skip, the great thing is obviously, so I'll talk a bit about it. So obviously we saw with Jose Mourinho. When Jose Mourinho, or I mean, we saw it with Poch. And we'd heard through the youth academy and we'd heard through Tottenham that this is going to be a player. Didn't really know his position back then. Jose got hold of him and said, this guy's a future Tottenham captain, and sent him on loan to Norwich. Now, fortunately, I've got actually got a Norwich City friend who I actually met in Toronto, who's Norwich City mad. And he just, for the whole season, was waxing lyrical about how good this guy is. And it's not just his pass is great, but it's, what I love about him, like Teddy Sheringham could see something, a few people like passes, he can see like where the position ought to be before it even happens. his, like the sliding tackle he made in the first half, his sense of where following the ball is outstanding. And what you got to remember as well, he's also allowing Højbjerg to add an extra facet and be like he did in Denmark and be more creative as well as getting back. Because last season, Højbjerg was doing three people's work in midfield on the defensive side. Hollie Skip, at 20 years old, like you said, unfortunately for your man with the ironic star over his head of all things, he is showing already in this brief amount of time the leagues above this kid is. I think he's. I was talking today. I think he's the way he's going on. I can see him go to the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. I really can. If you look at someone like Bellingham, who's got in at 17, Southgate has to be looking at this guy, because it's not only the great thing you got to take Hollie Skip is not just what he's bringing when he's on the pitch. You're seeing how important he is when he's off the pitch, i.e. Arsenal and Chelsea. So when a 20-year-old is doing that, it's a big, big, big statement. And I believe we have a real like we've talked like we've had our Harry Kanes and people coming through the youth. I reckon this one is a guaranteed big time superstar that we have on our hands. And it may be a little bit early, but you can only judge him on what he's been doing. And like I said, seeing him out compared, like our two best games of the season have been when Dele Alli was in the squad. Our worst two games of the season have been when Skip was out of it. So you can see the impact this boy is having.
100%.
There was me saying not to, hype him up too much and be a bit calm, but Brian just smashed it out of the park. So
yeah, so the yin and the yang here, the yin and the yang, Luke.
No, I like it. It's good to have a discussion. I mean, Orange Fancy's gone full in here that Hollie Skip would be a better CDM.
Good to see him. I haven't seen him about for ages. What's up, Orange?
Oh no, he's good, isn't he? He's in the building. He is in the building. But like you said, I just hope that the ceiling keeps rising, because Luke, obviously, for the likes of Dele Alli, I feel like the ceiling is slowly collapsing on him, and I'm hoping that obviously doesn't happen to Oliver Skip. You being devil advocate, saying that not to big him up, I think it is true, because I think some of that has gone to Dele's head at a very young age.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's the kind of Instagram boohoo man star boy, isn't he, as opposed to the actual footballing star boy. I feel bad. I do feel bad for Dele Alli. At a very young age, he was an incredible footballer at MK Dons. Spurs signed him, and a few people were like, "Who is this kid?" He performed outstanding for us for many seasons, but there gets to a stage in a young person's life where they can either choose to use that fame to their advantage, like Harry Kane has done, and improve himself astronomically, or there's to say, do you know what, I'm on so much money right now, I could pretty much play for any mid-table club in the Premier League and I'll still get paid close to what I'm getting paid at Spurs. I'm getting all these endorsements left, right and centre. I'm training in Dubai, when I'm not on international duty like everybody else. And I do feel for the lad, but, my time is done with Dele Alli. I was at the Europa League game against Enes Mura, and apart from winning a penalty in the first minute, it's pretty much first few minutes. That's pretty much his level, to be honest.
That is the thing. I hate talking about Dele Alli, but I feel like at the moment it is a hot topic, because we're not really seeing much hot topic of him on the pitch, and it's quite sad. It is quite sad. But yes, Eduardoson, he is there. He's got a bag on his head. But I've not already said as well. Let's pray that Skip doesn't get injured.
I think you just have to go to the Disney shop and get a Mickey Mouse bag and put it over his head. You can't have a star on his head.
Oh no, the bag choice wasn't brilliant. It's kind of a bit, I've kind of busted it.
Had your gin in it before you took it out?
To be fair, it did have some gin in it. So I mean, there we go. But nevertheless, obviously, another top talking point is Harry Kane. Because finally, the man has put the ball in the back of the net for a Premier League game. So, Brian, I come to you. How nice of it to finally see Harry Kane get on that score sheet in the Premier League game?
So, I have been very, very critical of Harry Kane. From the summer, I have been on as many streams as I go on, and I have literally been discussing So, you were at the Chelsea game with me, and I thought he was appalling. Absolutely appalling, especially on the passing of Jimmy Greaves, when we're mourning the greatest we've seen, and there's someone there chasing his record, and then he put in a performance like that, and people were saying, "Oh, it's the service, oh, it's this, oh, it's that." Listen, if you're a world-class player, I'm not saying you change the game single-handedly and we win. I'm saying you have an impact on the game. You say, right, the game's not coming to me, I'm going to the game. And he just wasn't doing that. Villa, he was even worse. And I was like, his head is not in it. He is not trying. I don't know what has happened to Harry Kane. He only turned up at the Wolves game in the Carabao Cup, where he looks sharp again. And, of course, in the Europa League. Now, if Harry Kane doesn't score 2 or 3 goals every Europa League game, then there's something very, very wrong with the level of competition he's got there. But I always give criticism and I always give praise. That's why I think Harry Kane yesterday was a fantastic performance. It wasn't just his finish, his timing of his run, and he saw the I can't remember the actual defender's name, but he timed that run. He timed the run to perfection. And everything, his passing, his body, like one of the things I was doing at the Villa game is, remember Sky used to do like player cam where they push the red button and it followed. Yeah. So I was doing that with Harry Kane during the Villa game, and he just wasn't running as fast. He wasn't trying to get in, but it was the complete 180 yesterday, and he looked incredible. He looked like the Harry Kane we know. I'm not going to say he's back because he needs to show that. If he gets a couple against West Ham or one and he scores, let's say in Burnley or United, then you can start seeing that he's coming back. The one thing I did love, though, and I think it showed that how together the team was, when he did score, especially after that delayed VAR, they ran to him so quickly. Like it was like when a brand new player scores their first goal. So his relationship with Son looked better. Lucas Moura was incredible and helps them out immensely as well. But what we saw of Harry Kane is much more. That's what we're accustomed to. And that's why other fans don't get it when we go mad that Harry Kane's not playing well, like he did in England. It's because that's not Harry Kane. That's not Harry Kane. But if he continues to put in the performances that he did on yesterday, then he'll be shooting up the goal tables very, very quickly and we'll be much, much happier.
Hopefully. I really hope so. And it is interesting because, like you say, we don't want to say he's back and then has another game that he just is non-existent. But Luke, yesterday, I mean, Orange has said, to be fair, the Newcastle defence was all over the place, but kind of like Brian said, the movement was there. We haven't seen that for a long time. And I think the togetherness of the players as well, I don't think we've seen that in a long time. I think they've kind of ushered Kane out. I mean, we're not there every day at the training ground, but for me, from a fan that watches it on the pitch, I thought it was a bit disjointed. But yesterday, it wasn't. So, Luke, what was your thoughts on Harry Kane?
Yeah, look, I think that I was the first one, well, not the first one, but I was one of the people who, on YouTube on, when was it, Thursday night on our channel, I said to my co-host, I was like, I asked the question, should we drop Harry Kane? He said no. I said yes. Harry Kane certainly proved me wrong, in this game. Look, we can talk about the Newcastle defence. We can talk about Manquillo playing him on side, but you've got to be some player to finish the ball like that. And maybe he did think he was offside. Maybe that's why it was so casual in the way that he finished it. But that's just what we're accustomed to, that cool, clinical finish from Harry Kane. And do you know what? That's what would have driven him on to then set up Son to score the third, because his unselfish nature came out there. And that's what we're accustomed to seeing from Harry Kane. The Harry Kane that hadn't scored would have tried to score and tried to score for himself. But in that instance, he knew he had a goal. All he had to do was slot it to Harry Kane. And I think I read today that's the first time that Son and Kane have both scored in a game since February.
Jeez.
Now, someone might correct me on that, but that's what I read today.
That is crazy when you think of it like that. The fact that obviously it's been slightly disjointed probably before we even realised, to be honest. And it was nice that we actually saw it combine again on Sunday. But obviously, I know we've spoken a little bit about it, but with the fact that Kane is I've lost my train of thought again. The fact that Kane was obviously firing and things, it's quite nice, obviously, going into that game against West Ham. But before we touch on that, I kind of want to get your thoughts on Nuno, because obviously there's been times where many people have been questioning Nuno, and I think I've been one myself. But Brian, I come to you first. Obviously, what are your thoughts on Nuno? Do you think now he's probably decided on his starting 11 with the likes of Ndombele playing just behind Kane, or do you think there's movement still to come? Has Nuno actually figured out his best starting 11 yet?
So before we talk formation, let's talk Nuno. He has thankfully this has been the first time the internet. All right, we had the international break, but it's the first time he's been able to play the same team twice. We came back from international breaks. Yes, we had the slight, or not slight, huge worry that Son and Hill had COVID, which turned out to be wrong. When I heard they were false negatives and false positives, I'm like, it sounds like people are taking a pregnancy test now for COVID. It's like, yeah, it was a false negative. No, you need to take it. It's like, what the? So we had that. And then the one thing is, Nuno, again, hasn't been backed by the person you have next to your favourite person, my nemesis there, Mr. Parasite Levy. Once again, hasn't backed the manager. And let's face it, because of the 75 days trying to get him, he has not had the time that other managers would. If he had got him in at the end of the season, like promised, or before the Euros, after blah, 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 then he would have had more time to get it. The fitness, as you can see, is greatly improved from him under Jose. And I think it's very, very, very unfair to blame Nuno. Yes, some of the performances, like the Crystal Palace and not bringing on subs and everything, was definitely his fault. I mean, Dyer went off, and we should have. I always tend to see that Spurs are always reactive, never proactive with their subs. They never make that first move to try and change it. But Nuno now has got his team where you could say, apart from maybe a Rodon, that was pretty much the first team that he had to choose from. It's now a question of keeping them fit for the Premier League, because obviously the strength, as we've had before, the first 11 is great. And then when you start tinkering with it, it's when it starts watering down. I think the greatest thing that he's done is he's finally moved away from the 4-3-3. I mean, I don't get it. If I was a manager going to any club in the world, if I had the best striker in the world and he plays by himself as a one, the very first thing I'm doing is finding a formation around playing that best player in the world in his best position. And we've seen in that game, if you do that, the contribution he makes. I think the 4-2-3-1 is what we're gonna. It's the tried and tested, and for me, I think the four people that are imperative to make the team tick is Romero, Højbjerg, Skip, and Lucas Moura for his work rate. Yes, we've got the Son and the Kane, but those four, the shift they put in throughout the spine is huge, and it's keeping them together. If he stays 4-2-3-1. And he can keep this team fit, that you can see from that Newcastle game. Yes, they're 19th in the league, but you think about the occasion. And like I said, St James's Park, when the crowd are on side with Newcastle, is not a pleasant place for away supporters or away teams. So if he sticks to this 4-2-3-1 and can keep players fit, then I think people will start changing their minds on Nuno. But like I said, I will never ever blame a manager until that man is shaped in an egg by the name of Parasite leaves the club, because it's the same stuff every single day. But I think the grief that Nuno is getting is not warranted, because he has not had his full team from the very beginning to now consistently. So judge him after that.
I think that is interesting. Like we know your stance on it. We know my stance on the bald egg levy as well. But it is interesting because it always seems to be the same thing that always falls back on. But that being said, obviously, Luke, I'll come to you. Obviously, I'll get your takes on Nuno as well. But I know we've briefly touched upon Lucas. And at the start of the game yesterday, I was a bit annoyed of Lucas because I don't think he was playing his best game. But then he really turned it on, didn't he, Luke?
Yeah, definitely. People know my thoughts on Lucas. I think he's been incredibly badly treated, in the sense of people giving him grief all of the time at Spurs. And I think that's one of the reasons why he moved away from PSG. He needed a new start. He wanted to try in the Premier League, and he proved it in the times when Kane was out. Take our Champions League run, for example. Proved absolutely outstanding player that he is, and it's a tragedy that he never played in the final. And I think he gets far too much stick, in my opinion. I think he's outstanding. I like the way he cuts inside. I like his runs. Yes, of course, sometimes he makes the wrong ball. There was a few times once he went down very easily at the edge of the box, and the referee just told him to get up again. But he was the one that also played the ball through to Harry Kane, if I'm not mistaken, for Son's goal.
Yeah.
And I think he's fantastic. The only thing I may look at differently is I'd love to see Brian Hill, after a few more matches, attempt to play as part of that three. So Son, Hill, Moura. I think he would be good behind Harry Kane. And the reason for that is I've seen the way that he plays, and I like the way that sometimes he plays the ball backwards, but when he makes that ball, he's instantly going forwards. And I think that with Harry Kane not having that much pace, you could see him then going on behind him if Harry Kane does drop back. But look, that's just a theory that I have, and Ndombele's playing great in that at the moment, and so you wouldn't want to change that. But yeah, Nuno. Let's talk about Nuno. Look, I'm Nuno in, right? And there's a few reasons why. Number one, there's no one else that I have as a manager right now at Spurs. So what is the point in having this discussion? Number two, he's however many games, I forget now, however many games into the season, 8-9 games. And yeah, okay, we played abysmally against Chelsea. Second half, first half was all right. We played even worse than abysmal. I don't even know what word that is against Arsenal. And all those Arsenal fans that I know that are saying that they were outstanding that day. Fair play, because it's easy to be outstanding against a side that have 0 players playing in midfield. You know, in terms of Nuno, like when I went to the NS Mura game, because I don't get to the stadium very often. I live in Scotland, so it's difficult for me to get down. I spent some time afterwards and like walked around and watched like the player interviews and the manager interviews afterwards. And compared to like Harry Kane, Lo Celso, Dele Alli, the amount of time that he took to chat to the fans, take pictures with the fans, to really try and integrate with the fans, like that meant a lot to me. Like my whole thing about Spurs, right, is that I don't care of the result, right, in a way. I really care about the passion, the effort, the enthusiasm, and the fighting for Spurs. That's the main thing. If we fight in every match but we don't win, then I can live with that. But if we don't show any heart, desire, passion, then, you know, I'm not into that. So anyway, so that meant a lot to me that he spent that time. Look, he needs to get the results on the pitch. Right now, who is there that can come in and do a job at Spurs and get us to the next level or back to the level that we were at? I don't think there is anybody at the moment available.
No, I think that's the thing as well. Obviously, I think there was rumours that Graham Potter. I don't even know who wrote it, but I saw like
probably whoever it is that writes nonsense on Twitter. I won't name them, but
probably. I hope you're not pointing at me that finger either, Luke. Only
Or
my
myself.
No,
Or
not you
myself.
either. No. I tell it if
Well,
it's either of you.
I definitely do write some shit, and most of it's about my favourite person in the entire world. And I don't hold back. Let's just put it that way, Luke.
I know. I did read your pinned tweet today. To be fair.
Oh yeah, always, mate. If it's not Levy, I'm having a bad day. If it's not a Levy tweet, something's wrong with me.
No, but that's the thing. It's good to have these discussions, and like you said, I don't think there's anybody else that really wants to. So not necessarily manage Spurs, but obviously with the bald egg that's currently doing things, I don't think anybody would want to. And I big up Nuno for the fact that obviously, like we said, he's coming in at a tricky time. He's had to balance everything, especially the Harry Kane drama right at the start of the season. So I think we need to give him credit where it's due and get behind him.
I think he handled that about Harry Kane as well, like really well. I think in media press conferences, I think he handled it well. I think he dealt with it as best as you can. You know, you've got to be careful with these things because Harry Kane was going to come back, so he had to be careful in what he said. But I think he handled that well because he did get hounded for that. And let's not forget, we did win our first 3 games of the season. We were top of the league for about half an hour.
Very true. And it was against Man City, the first
He
game.
basically took the job and then just walked into a media firestorm, and it was just like, right, deal with it. And all you can say is you always learn something from going through bad experiences. So he's definitely going to pick something up from there. And yeah, he walked into an absolute circus, and now hopefully things will start to get back to normal with us.
100%. I hope so. I mean, obviously going back to the Newcastle game, there was that incident obviously where I have to throw my hands up and congratulate both Reguilon and I, which was obviously with that Newcastle fan in the crowd obviously collapsing. I mean, it just shows you that these things, regardless of football players, whatever, we're all human and these things happen out of nowhere. So I'll go to you first, Brian. Obviously, I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's been spoken about a lot, but it is amazing that the fact that obviously Reguilon and I did respond very quickly to help that fan out in the crowd.
It was outstanding. I mean, the thing I loved as well, if you watched I think it was Sky interview after when we was Reguilon and Kane, the first thing Reguilon said is like, "Listen, is he okay? Is he okay?" That's all that matters. Just that the just being a kind human, just to have that touch. He could have just said, "Yeah, I did good. I hope he's." But he really, it just goes to show the human side of him, which was fantastic. Now, I was saying this on a stream last night. It's now coming to a point. Obviously, it's happening a lot more with players, which is very concerning. But it seems to be happening, unfortunately, somehow in the stands a bit more. And it's like these people. If you have a heart condition and then that happens, you're kind of always prepared for it. But there's some people that are having it. Like my best mate was in doing military service, and he got stung by a scorpion. And he had his ECG, and they said, "You've got a heart defect." It's like, well, you've only just found that out. So these kind of heart problems are kind of reoccurring or popping up, and we live in an age now where surely we can get defibrillators in the like somewhere by the gangways. There's like a first aid box that's locked by the stewards. If anything happens, bang, they're there. And I mean, and I don't mean this because it was a Newcastle. I mean, if it had been a Spurs fan or any away fan at Newcastle, it's all the way up. I mean, if you've not been to St James's Park, it's right at the goddamn top. So trying to get trained medical staff like the Tottenham and Newcastle medical staff did, obviously in the stands, it's not only impossible unless there's a doctor right near to be there. So this has got, and not just for the Premier League, but all the lower leagues, they need to find a way to get defibrillators around the stands, like so a steward can get to it very, very quickly, because it's really worrying. It's really worrying. But thankfully, like you said, I mean, you look at it, Dyer and Reguilon possibly have saved someone's life. Like literally, it's as serious as that, and they deserve a hell of a lot of credit and a hell of a lot of respect for doing what they did and noticing it so quickly.
100%, and it is interesting that you also say as well, obviously defibs across the stadium, because I turned around to Mum and said, what if that happened, like you said, somewhere else in the stadium? Like, how are they going to get to that person? I feel like not that you need them in the gangways, but like obviously talking back to Tottenham, when you come out and get to your seat, maybe they have one on the wall there, just so it's easily accessible to get to. But obviously, Luke, it wasn't just the players; it was obviously the man in the crowd that has actually come to light that he was a doctor at the local hospital as well. So that being said, Luke, the fact. Oh, sorry, Karen.
Yeah, it's just amazing, isn't it? Like, sorry, I just cut you off because I just wanted to discuss that guy actually, because a lot of praise has been given to the players, and fair play to them. To stand there and to say this, someone needs to do something right now, and the referees, the officials, I think they handled it well. I think they were all a bit unsure of what was going on as soon as they realised exactly the extent of it. They took the players off the pitch. Because I was actually chatting to the guys on my channel in the WhatsApp group, and I said, why aren't they taking them off the pitch? And then suddenly they all came off, which is the right thing to do. But, big shout out to that guy. It's weird, right? And again, I don't mean this in any way, but which is always something someone says before they say something but I don't mean it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's amazing how this guy, who is an A&E doctor, as far as I read on the internet today, was so close in the crowd when Fabrice Muamba collapsed against Spurs. Yep. There was a heart, I think it was a heart doctor or someone.
Yeah, one of the top heart surgeons in London.
Yeah, was like right next to him, so managed to jump on the pitch and know exactly what. It's amazing that these people are just dotted all around us, and it's incredible that hopefully this person, gets to some kind of full recovery as best they can. And just fair play to every single player, fan, everybody. They showed, I don't know, just everything they should have done, and everyone reacted in the best way they possibly could. So yeah, just thankful for everyone, really.
Just quick, Joe, what, Luke, you saying that about the doctor, just maybe there should be a thing with all league teams like everywhere in the world that if season ticket holders are doctors, there's kind of like, when they're looking at the stadium plan, maybe they could put like like in the security or in the gangways and say, like when you book your plane ticket, they put across. Maybe they could do that. So if there is a doctor, rather than putting on the tannoy, is there a doctor in the house? They will have and go, right, this guy or this woman, wherever they are in the stadium, maybe they need to do that to make doctors make themselves known to the stadium, or the stadium asks who are doctors and where are you sitting as a season ticket. So should anything happen, they know people that they can try and get to straight away to help them.
Yeah, but potentially, it's difficult, isn't it? Because not not everybody is able to react, and not everyone feels they should be, sitting there and have to. I know it sounds crazy, right? And again, like, of course, if you're a doctor, you're more than likely want to help. But I have known people, that have flown on aeroplanes are doctors, and they just pray the whole time. They don't have to deal with anything because they're just like, they will deal with it. But, it's so to go there and know that, okay, I'm sitting in the designated seat or whatever it is, I don't know. But it'd be good. It would be good. I suppose what you could do is put your occupation when you book your season ticket. That way they would know without knowing.
Yeah.
But there definitely needs to be, people there. Whether they could plant people again, who knows?
No, it is an interesting take. Like I said, we've talked about defibrillators, but using the personnel as well. Obviously, like we said, that person was just a normal fan, shall we say, watching a game that happened to be an A&E doctor. It's incredible.
Well, also big shout out to Justin Edinburgh's son as well, because he's campaigning at the moment, isn't he, for defibrillators in schools, football grounds, grassroots football, as far and wide as he can go. That's one of the biggest things that he's pushing. And also David Gindler as well, if anyone watched Sky, gave some real insight and basically taught everybody how to perform CPR. There he is.
Love that.
Well, I'm also talking. I'll say this before I got to go for my family dinner. But talking of that, David Ginola, literally, I was at the Friday, not this Friday, just got the Friday before with a few of the streamers, and literally, I went to go have a cigarette with Danny Kiriakou, but we were told rather than going downstairs and outside, because David Ginola was about to come on, there's like a fire door there. Just go there. There's steps. Just go smoke there. So we were there, just started smoking a cigarette. Like 10 to 15 seconds later, the door opened, like stars in their eyes. It was like, tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be. And out walked David Ginola and had a cigarette with us. And I was like, I'm having a cigarette with Ginola. I was like, and he was talking to us about also, but he spoke about like when this happened to him and how like he just literally 1 minute is playing football in a park, the next minute, and the doctor was saying to him, literally, your body. I don't know how it was like, because your body is so geared up, there was no lasting damage, but he had to have a huge surgery. And obviously, how ironic that he was there yesterday to discuss this. But yeah, it's something I completely forgot what you were saying about Justin Edinburgh's. Did you say it's his son, isn't it? Not his brother, it's his son.
Yeah, his
son,
sorry. Yeah, his son. Sorry,
yeah, no, I'm sure you said son, but for some reason I heard brother.
I don't know. My mind's like mush at the moment, so I probably said.
You know what it is? It's because that egghead is like staring. I've got a death stare going on with him behind me. I'm being corrupted, but I have to go right now. But Luke, pleasure to be on the stream with you, and
you too,
let's try and do something on my channel and your channel. Hollie, I have to get you on Tottenham on tour ASAP. Definitely. We'll sort it out. Whenever you need me, let me know. Big up that man that did the jingle. See, Daniel. Can you put that star back over his head? But yeah, have a great night, everyone. And I will speak to you soon, Hollie. And hopefully we'll do something before I go again.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
No worries. As always, I'll leave a stream with Levy out.
Oh, love him, man. But no, it is true, obviously, with David Ginola. I think, like Brian said, it was ironic in a way that he was there, because I think normally I don't like the way Sky do things, but I think Sky, especially when that happened, they did an amazing coverage of the way they were talking to David Ginola. I think that was a class act from them. Yeah,
do you know what? The one thing I didn't like, though, was how they talked about Christian Eriksen and then zoomed in on Højbjerg. They're a bit scumbagish, really, Sky, but you've got to pay and you've got to do what they say, don't you, really? Unless you watch another streamer's channel, I suppose.
I suppose. But while you're here, Luke, obviously, we'll just talk about the game on Thursday as well, and the West Ham game, just to get a few game thoughts. So to start with is that, I'm going to butcher the name, but Viatis, obviously, on Thursday. I think that was all right. But I've done a little bit of homework this time. They obviously lost to... I have. I know it's a first. They've lost to Rain. I can't even pronounce their name. The team we played at Ren, that's the one. But they've also won their last two games. So that being said, they're kind of on a bit of a high, but they lost to Ren. So what's your kind of thoughts? Do you think there's going to be much change? Are we going to see that man Brian Hill in the match?
Yeah, I definitely think we'll see Brian Hill. Sorry, I was also trying to do some statting up on Vitesse Arman, I think they're known as. But where do they sit? Sit third in our group. They've played two. 1-1. Lost the other one by the looks of it. So, yeah, they're like Chelsea loanee club, aren't they? Like Chelsea, I think they're Chelsea's feeder club or something. Can Chelsea just like bombard them with like 20 players a season or something? It's stupid. But I don't know. I think Spurs have been quite lucky in their group in the sense of it's not too far to travel. They haven't been lucky in the kind of caliber of teams. Obviously, anybody we should be beating, but Rennes are all right. Vitesse Arnhem are average. I was impressed actually at the Mura game. They had about 15 away fans, so I was quite impressed by them. But
wow,
I know, yeah. But yeah, I don't actually have, and this is going to make terrible content, but I don't actually have much to say about them. All I know is that they loan a lot of players from Chelsea, and that's pretty much it. I think, again, we should be fairly comfortable. I really don't get this whole thing about Spurs fans saying that Harry Kane shouldn't come on and Son shouldn't come on. Like, I think if things aren't going as at that point in their game, it was 2-1, right? We were still in control. We've been 2-0 up since early doors. They scored a pretty decent effort. So I think it's difficult to sit there and say, oh, Spurs shouldn't be bringing on Kane and Son. Like, what's 15, 20 minutes? And then Kev's just said Rennes beat PSG, by the way. So Rennes are a decent team. I remember, actually, I'm talking shit now, but I remember when they had Arsenal in the Europa League, and they gave them a good run for their money quite a few years ago now. So, this is a tricky one. Let Dane Scarlett play the game. As much as I love Dane Scarlett now, I think he needs to be up top with somebody. I think he needs help. I think it's very difficult when you play a second-string Spurs team and have a 17-year-old up front, and teams will sit back and defend against you. It's going to be tricky for him. He needs to run. He needs to run in behind. He needs to be in the box with crosses. There's a lot to his game, and don't get me wrong, I think he could be an incredible footballer, but we need to be careful in making sure we don't, a little bit like Oliver Skip, I suppose, but we need to make sure that we aren't just throwing him in the deep end and hoping for the best. If there was let's say when we had Llorente, right? If there was like a Llorente to play up top with him, someone that had a bit of age on their side that we didn't mind playing with him, and this always resorts back to Spurs, doesn't it? Spurs need another striker. Because we can't have a 28-year-old Harry Kane and a 17-year-old Dane Scarlett. And that's it.
It is interesting. That's the thing. Obviously, if Dele Alli plays as well, he's going to be on the ball for too long. So Dane Scarlett isn't going to get balls in behind, I don't think. Now, I could be wrong. I could be being really harsh to Dele Alli, but we haven't really seen anything from him. So to play Dane Scarlett in a game where I think isn't going to probably to his strengths, if that makes sense. And like you said, we need to be careful with Dane Scarlett because in previous games he's been hacked to bits when he's played. So I think it's too soon to push him. But obviously,
I think he will play.
I
think he will play, but I don't think he should play.
No, I'm with you.
I think he will play because we don't have anybody else to play, and it's either that or Harry Kane, or we play someone who's not a striker. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I'm with you. That's the thing. It's just, I think it's very hard at the moment to, obviously with West Ham coming up, which we will talk about. Do you risk playing Harry Kane against people that are going to hack people's legs, or should we just shut Dane Scarlett in just to get minutes? And I think with all players, you do need to give them minutes to be able to give their confidence, get a bit of experience. And I think maybe playing Dane is a bit too early, but like you said, we haven't really got anyone else, so Dane might just be thrown in there. But obviously, I think we'll be able to win that game regardless of who we play. I mean, we have the ability to, and the depth in the squad you'd like to think to be able to against them lot. But obviously, we do have West Ham at the weekend as well. Now, it's going to be a tricky one, as like we said, we're on a run of form. West Ham are on a bit of a run of form as well. So that being said, what do you kind of take to the game on Sunday? What do you expect?
Yeah, first of all, I'm going to big up to Dom on our channel. I'm actually going he's coming up to Glasgow for the day this week to watch Celtic with me, just for a bit of banter. But fair play to him, that's just like a 6-hour train journey there and back in one day. So just to watch Celtic in the Europa League. But anyway,
madness.
Yeah, West Ham. West Ham are always like tricky. It's always scrappy. It's always just shit. And I just hate playing West Ham because they're terrible. The manager is awful in my eyes, and I just think like how they got Europa League last season and how they're still doing all right this season, I'll never know. But yeah, look, remember the last game, right? We got beat by them back end of last season. There was a 3-3 draw. We were 3-0 up.
Oh.
And the only other one I can remember is Dele Alli doing absolute bits when Jose Mourinho called him his brother. So,
Yeah, where'd you kind of go with it?
I think Kev's right. It is their cup final, and soon enough, if we don't start beating them, it's going to start becoming our cup final. So,
100%. It is interesting you said that as well. I mean, it's funny you say that 3-3 draw because I think they made a video of it today, montaging that draw as well. They literally posted it on Twitter like a
that's
full
literally
video.
the best thing they're living on, isn't it? That they came back from 3 goals down.
It's incredible. Like you said, you just want to do one on them. So I'm going to hit you with a score prediction just because it's always nice to see what you think is going to happen. So if Tottenham decide to turn up like they did against Newcastle, what's your kind of thoughts on score predictions?
Well, Spurs are a bit tragic in defence, as we always have been for as long as I can ever remember. So I always think we'll concede. But I like this 3-1. I had that on the Newcastle game. So I'm going to go back on 3-1 for Spurs. I'll never back a draw and I'll never back West Ham. So you've always got to back Spurs. I just think that we are a better team and we have much better players. But depends who shows up, doesn't it? Because Spurs recently have shown up like we did in the first game of the season against City, and we showed up against a pretty terrible Newcastle team. But we need to be showing up from the first minute.
That's the thing. Like again, it was the same. Like we've spoken about. It was literally like, here we go again. We're 1-0 down. I can't even fathom the fact of going 1-0 against West Ham. Because like you said, okay, yes, they don't have as much quality as us, but they're somehow riding on something, and I don't know what it is. They're literally high on something. Because like you said, they're doing business at the moment. I'm feeling the same, Orange. Lanzini, he lives in my baddest nightmares. Honestly, that goal still haunts me to this day. So as long as we keep him at bay, I'm all happy. And Eric Dyer doesn't score an own goal, which we haven't really spoken about, Luke, which is strange because obviously I've been banging on about how Romero has been Dyer's like best right-hand man because they've actually been playing well. But we saw again against Newcastle, which we'll talk about briefly because I've just forgotten about it. I don't know how I've forgotten about it. Probably because it's just second nature to Eric Dyer. The fact that he's headed the ball into the back of our own net with what? I think it was like 5 minutes left, wasn't it? Something ridiculous like that.
So now everyone will have to forgive me, right? My dog was up all night on Saturday night. I had literally about 2 hours sleep in the last 36 hours. So you'll have to forgive me. I fell asleep for the last 10 minutes of the game.
No.
And then woke up and realised we'd won. So it was like one of those ones where you fall asleep and you wake up and you didn't even know you were asleep. Like, I just thought the game was over. So anyway, you have to forgive me. I missed it, but I watched the highlights again this morning. I couldn't decide whether it hit his head or it hit his knee. Like, because he crouched down so far that, like, did it hit his head? Did it hit his knee? Like, just I can't even believe it. But I was glad that John Joe Shelby got sent off as well because he's an atrocious footballer as well.
That's the thing. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, just. Eric Dyer, man. Like the last thing that's going to happen is Newcastle scoring from a set piece in my eyes. So I don't know what he's doing, but look, you can laugh at it now, can't we? But yeah,
at the time, not so much. That's the thing. Like, it was the timing more so than anything. Yeah. The fact that, like Taryn says, we never make it routine when easy. No, never. And that's just the thing. I just don't understand him. I really don't. I mean, I'm just giving him the Newcastle award. Oh my god, that's the thing. I just don't understand. I hope this isn't where we're going to see Dyer fall off a cliff because this happened last season. He had a bad game and that was it. He was done for. But it was quite nice. I know you've spoken about Nuno and the fact that he's linking with the fans, he's spending time with the fans after games. He was consoling Eric Dyer after that game yesterday, after that bad mistake. So you're hoping, obviously, Luke, with the fact that he kind of has this, I don't want to say father figure because I don't want to lean on to Poch too much, but the fact that he is consoling players when they make mistakes like that, you just hope it is the last mistake.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the major difference between a Jose Mourinho type and a Nuno and a Poch type. There's a big difference in it. I think footballers nowadays are less of the, hardy, cut your head open and just put a bandage around it, and more like the, little hug of the Horlicks and a kiss on the forehead before you go to sleep type thing. And if that's what, do you know what? Like, This is why Spurs, in my opinion, need some kind of like psychologist in the club, because they need to figure out the mentality of each player and then know how to then manage each player from there. So if that player needs that hard-talking Jose Mourinho style, then great. We need a manager that can do both, but they know when to be able to do it. If they don't know how to speak properly to their players to get the best out of them, and some people will say they're not paid for that. They should be, but it's the same if I go to work. You know, if I go to work and someone starts leathering me all day long, I'm just going to sit on my ass and do fuck all, because why would I? That's not how I react well. But, you know, if I'm given criticism along with praise or things like that, then I'll work a lot harder for that. And so I think that's interesting. But nice to see him consoling Dyer. But I don't think he needs consoling. Everyone scores their own goals. Do you know what I mean? I'd like to see Joe Rodon and Christian Romero. I'd like to see that partnership, because I think Eric Dyer, everyone was giving him stick last season. It was all Dyer out, Dyer out. And I don't know why, because all of a sudden we've won 3, lost 3, and then won another, that suddenly it's Dyer in. I don't see why it can't be Joe Rodon and Romero. Yeah.
It is interesting, because like we say, Dyer always seems to have a mistake in him. And I said this right at the start of the season. He was playing well. Then he had that injury, obviously, against it goes from my mind now who we were playing, and he had to come off. That's the one, Palace. All these games are jumbled up in my head. But from then he was playing so well, and then to slot back into the team, you're kind of thinking, is he going to be able to perform once again? And he did, apart from obviously yesterday. But like you said, why not throw Rodon in? We haven't really seen the best of Rodon, I don't think, yet. He doesn't really had enough time, in my opinion. But again, you don't want to unbalance the squad. You don't want to shuffle things around.
I agree, but look at him for Wales. You know, he's outstanding when he plays for Wales, and Wales aren't a great side. So
true.
It's not like, again, I wouldn't actually be worried of putting too much pressure on him, because I think he already has that pressure in terms of when he plays for Wales, and he's already captained Wales as well at one point when Gareth Bale went off. So he has that responsibility internationally, yet we don't give him responsibility, you know, in the Premier League. To me, it's like backwards, isn't it?
Yeah, that is true, I suppose. I didn't really think of it like that. It's like you stick Dyer in because he's been at the club for so long. You like to think he knows what he's doing. And I know Sam's here that saying Dyer gets an untold unfair stick. I can't even speak. An untold unfair stick, in my opinion. I agree to an extent. I think we are very much like, let's jump on the bandwagon. But I think sometimes it's due. I think Dyer has been a bit of a liability at the back. But Sam also says that he likes Rodon. So maybe, like you said, Luke, maybe we should try the Rodon kind of thing with things. Because like you said, he's doing it for his country. Why not do it in the Premier League?
And they played together in the Europa League as well, if I'm not mistaken, Rodon and Romero. So I don't know why they couldn't
do it in the Prem.
Yeah,
it's true. It is true. But no, I mean, we've got another win. It's what's this? Romero still doesn't speak much English yet, so that's another reason why I don't. Well, it could be. That's an interesting. I mean, Rodon probably does speak English as well, Chris.
I know. Yeah, that's like what? So just because he has a Welsh accent, like.
To be fair, the Welsh accent is very hard to depict. So, but no, I think he still does talk English.
Oh no, maybe because Dyer speaks Portuguese. No, there we go. Okay, right, we figured it out.
Right, and on that note, I'd like to say thank you very much, Luke, for joining me tonight. Obviously, Ryan is skedaddled, but make sure you go check out Tottenham on tour as well. It's a new channel. He has been on. God, I can't remember the other channel he was on. But regardless, Tottenham on tour is his new channel, so make sure you go check it out. And Luke, where can everybody find you doing your thing?
Yeah, firstly, Hollie, thanks again for having me on. You know, I always like coming on the channel. Really, really appreciate it. It's always a good laugh, to be fair. And it's nice to not host the channel and nice to just sit and chat. So thank you. It's good to come on after a win. I've been coming on for wins recently, as far as I remember. But yeah, you can find me at Rivalry Aside TV. We've got loads and loads and loads of content on there. Not just Spurs content, but also, well, who knows what anyone's doing at the moment. But United, Liverpool, Leicester, West Ham. We've got loads of different content going on. Arsenal, boo. So yeah, look, if you like football and you want to help us out, we really want to hit that 1,000 subscribers. We've just hit 600, so we'd really, really appreciate it. Even if it's a sympathy subscribe, I don't really care. But before you do that, obviously make sure you're liking this video from Hollie. Make sure you're subscribing to her channel because, you know, obviously that's really, really important. Our channel's great, but Hollie's is better.
Don't be silly. I can't do any other football other than Tottenham because A, I don't know half the players, and B, I don't talk a lot of sense. So it's been very nice to have you on, Luke. You're always welcome. We are also, as it seems, not great at our linguistics. It seems.
Well, look, they speak Portuguese in Brazil, don't they? So I assume they spoke it in Argentina as well. But
I mean, I didn't have a clue. So
and there's not much difference. Look, I'm going to sound like really insensitive here, but there's not a lot of difference between Portuguese and Spanish.
Yeah, don't they both say same sort of things, don't they? That probably sounds really bad, but you know what I mean. Oh dear, I need to stop this now. Darren, it's all right, mate, because you can rewatch it, my friends. But I'd just like to say thank you to everyone in the chat. Like I said, I'm getting slowly better at bringing up your chats, and it's quite nice to have the interaction and try and slip it in to the talking points. So thank you all once again. Hopefully we'll be talking about another win next week. Keep your eyes peeled because we have some amazing guests, and there's 2 former Spurs players coming on later this month and next month. So make sure you are here, ladies and gents. But go check out Rivalry Aside TV. Jesus Christ, I can't get my words out.
Can't believe you butchered that. There was only a bit you needed to get right.
No, it's because we're talking about bloody Spanish and Portuguese. My mouth's gone all over the place. Like, seriously, it's really bad. But no, before I gabble on anymore, make sure you go check out Rivalry Side TV. Make sure you check out Tottenham Tour, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Until next time, come on, you Spurs. Oh, wrong button. There you go. Why is it not working?